Hi, good afternoon, guys. We have been receiving several queries in the last few weeks in regards to various entrepreneurs, Indian entrepreneurs, asking what are the things that they have to keep in mind when they raise from global angel investors or VCs. Initially, in terms of seed round, what happens is that investors put in the money, and entrepreneurs many a times without understanding the issue, they're taking the money and forget to do the compliance. So this create lot of confusion, especially in terms of taxation and RBI compliances. So the reason we are hosting this webinar, where I and my colleague Kirti will try to analyze the different instrument of investments from global angel or VCs, is that to educate our listeners and viewers about what are the things that they should keep in mind while they raise money from global investors. So, without further ado, let me initiate this presentation. So let us, before starting, understand why exactly India is getting so much attention. It's because India is among the top five GDP growing countries. It has been declared among the seventh our top 20 in 2021. Money is flowing in from different geographies: Mauritius, Singapore, US, Netherlands, Germany, European Union, and tech, SaaS, fintech is getting funding uh, very frequently. India is again among the very few countries with unicorn, several so many unicorns. In fact, it is only behind US and China in regards to unicorn sort of a status. So this is the reason people are getting money. We have found many friends and family investing in their friends or related startups in India, and this is where this funding comes in. So what we are trying to analyze is that the angel investors, when they invest from foreign countries, uh, invest through various mechanisms. Though there are from funding perspective, government has already shown various government support. There are young and abundant talent. There are industrial economies, but what they have done is that this funding takes place because of this sort of reasons, and funding takes place in several mechanisms. So if you see on this slide, we have tried to analyze the six important sort of instruments of investment. One, direct equity shares. These are preferred by friends and families who are investing in just a small amount of money, especially in the seed stage, where issuance of equity is given, say, for 0.5%, 1% sort of a stake, or 2% sort of a stake to foreign relative or investors to for their token amount of funding in the seed round. The second is CCPS. Now, what is CCPS? CCPS are usually done by micro VCs globally. They get preferentials with various rights, right? There are once the investors takes this, they can also get loans, the debt, and banks, financial institutions provide loans or any third party transaction, related party transaction. But usually, what happens is that investors in the secondary sort of a debt round, they go for convertible notes. Now, convertible notes is a sort of a hybrid model where you can either pay off the money or you can convert into a equity at a discounted. This brings to CCD. CCD are again global VCs prefer it very much. We have done several rounds wherein CCDs are invested, and in over here the debentures are conceded by the investors. So they are given by the investors, and the startups taken as debentures. But due to the nature of compulsory convertible, in the balance sheet, it's treated as a sort of a quasi debt equity sort of way, because it will be compulsory convertible into equity. Again, we have found various international advisors also take advisory shares for their sort of a connect, for their sort of help to startups, and all these are in seed to Series B stage happening, right? So let's discuss one by one about each, and let's understand what are the different formalities. I will now bring in ET, who will try to analyze each one of them, and I will chip in as and when required. ET, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shomik. Taking things further from Shomik, we would now further discuss key aspects and key points on equity shares, like what are its nature and how equity shares. I mean, what basically is the rights and nature of equity shares. So, equity shares is primarily a common stock of the company. They basically represent the ownership percentage of the company. These companies equity shareholders are owners of the company, and it also provides the shareholders with company's profit. Now, equity shares basic nature, since this is a base share, so its basic nature is also transferable, and it is exchangeable. The Companies Act provides for share transfer. Various kinds of compliances are also there. Uh, equity shareholders, they have a right to hold meetings. They can in fact vote on the meetings. The voting rights on the other part of the shares are comparatively less as compared to the equity shares. Now, these the equity shares comes with the right to receive dividends as well. I mean, dividend is also part of CCPS, but the company, when it declares equity dividend, then the equity shares are they have the right to receive dividend. And the equity shares can also be issued with different rights, say different rights per se, voting rights or dividend rights or any other rights. Now, the companies, they have the right here, so that they can issue shares with differential rights, which becomes really handy in terms of bringing in investments from the global investors. In terms of liquidation also, equity shares, they are comparatively, since they are the owners of the company, now they are treated comparatively at the last stage to distribute the assets as compared to the other shareholders, basically the CCPS or the debentures, the debt holders. So these were the free sub equity shares, points on equity shares. Moving forward, we are going to discuss on CCPS. Now, CCPS, the nature of CCPS is different, and it's a bit preferable. Considering the global investments and investors' point of view, CCPS is really preferable kind of securities that the investors want to hold. Now, the rights in terms of in terms of CCPS is that they give a preferential right to the investors, to the shareholders, basically. Now, the right to receive dividend in terms of equity shares was predominantly when the company declares it. But in terms of CCPS, they have a right that they will receive a dividend. A certain percentage of dividend is decided at the time of the initial stage, and the companies has to give dividend, outstanding dividend accordingly. Now, in preference to the equity shares, CCPS holders, they have advanced access to the assets of the company. Basically, this works well in terms of liquidation, where they are preferred ahead of equity shareholders. Now, moving forward, we have
Just to point a few stuff over here, we found that CCPS is again very much preferred by global investors, simply because they get a preference over in terms of liquidation, in terms of specific voting issues over equity related things. So if you see the Memorandum of Association and Article of Association Rules of Companies Act, a private limited company can have several sort of regulation in terms of voting rights and quorum and all things for private limited entities. Now, for CCPS holders, they get various benefits when they invest in terms of this because they can modify the article of association in this regard. Plus, they get a preference in terms of several activities. And once they reach to a point when they are supposed to get exit, they convert immediately at a discounted rate into equity and then apply for exit, right? So yes, EP, you can go on.
Yeah. So as Promit said, it can be converted at a later stage into equity as well, which will obviously give ownership rights to the shareholders at a later date, or as and when the investors want to convert. Now, preference shareholders, they cannot receive they cannot receive bonus shares against their holding. However, if the agreement permits, or if it is specifically mentioned that preference shareholders will have an access to the bonus shares, other companies will have to abide by that. This creates a good impact on the investors to bring in funds, taking or subscribing shares via CCPS only. The next point of our discussion is convertible notes. So convertible note, now these days, the investors who do not want to have the equity ownership in the company, they tend to invest via convertible notes or via convertible loans. This, from the compliance aspect in India, convertible note is fairly a bit easier for the global investors to put in their funds in the company, since there is quite a lot and an ease of infusing funds in the company. So the key points or the key facts for convertible notes is the share valuation is not required. Now, for infusing funds in the company via CCPS or via equity, share valuation is the prima facie or the primary aspect that the company has to do, which is a costly affair as well. Now, share valuation is not required in this. There is no control, or there is no voting power involved in convertible notes. So fairly, it's just infusing funds in the company, and then the investor receives a fixed percentage of interest, or the conversion interest, whatever cumulative conversion interest, whatever the matters decided between the company and the investors. Now, the
One
company.
big point over here, because many of the entrepreneurs have asked this pertinent question: if they raise money to save, then what should be the best way of? Because there is no regulation in India for safe notes. Uh, Note become a very preferred model for investment, and this was probably a reason through which the safe investment has taken place. For any safe investment, either from Singapore or from US or for that matter, any other region, you must consider two options: either convertible note, and in case you are investing at a lesser amount or you do not want to convert it, then CCPS can be one of the options. So for safe notes, usually they prefer convertible note or CCPS as an option.
So the next point, taking from Shomik, the next pointer is to have a threshold limit of nearly 25 lakhs. So a company issuing convertible notes in a single tranche, they have to have a minimum 20 lakhs. They have to issue convertible notes for a minimum value of 25 lakhs. and the basic investment period of this such convertible note should be a period of 5 years. Um, Now, convertible note is actually it provides the investors with various favorable options. Say the floor valuation, so they can have a predetermined floor valuation that at this valuation the company is going to if the company or the conversion of note is going to happen at this valuation or at a discounted share price what the company and the investors decide. They can have a valuation cap as well, reaching which the company will have to convert the convertible note to the investors with along with the interest.
One key
So
aspect that it is mentioning, which should be very much ingrained by the viewers, is that this is a minimum investment of 25 lakhs. So, in case you are taking in money uh, less than 25 lakhs, you cannot take a convertible loan. Point one. Point two also, this aspect has to be done in a this conversion has to be done within a period of 5 years. You cannot touch it. Also, you have to be a registered startup or an MSME to take convertible note. Right? This all the three aspects you must keep in mind before taking this instrument. So, Iti, can you go to the next slide?
The next point of discussion is the aspects of debentures. So debentures, as it says, is a debt security, and it should be repayable with principal amount and interest as and when the debenture periods has been decided. Now, debentures, just as same as the preference shares, debentures basically, if issued of a convertible nature, now it should be converted to equity shares. Now, minimum period for conversion of debentures is 10 years, and so from the date of its issue, it should be converted within a period of 10 years. Now going back to the CCPS, the minimum period for CCPS conversion is 20 years, and here the
So I think
CCPS.
you have. I mean, it's not minimum; it's maximum. I mean, within maximum.
Sorry, maximum. Sorry, yeah. So the maximum period is it 20 years, and for CCDs, the maximum period for conversion is 10 years. Now, debentures, they have a peculiar nature. Now they can be hybrid securities as well. So I mean, it's not mandatory that if debentures are issued, they have to be converted or they have to be redeemed at a future date. So debentures, now the companies also have a flexibility and options to issue optionally convertible debentures, now which can be fully convertible or partly convertible. It is completely in the hands of the investors, since the nature is only optionally convertible debentures, and then there are compulsory convertible debentures as well. Debentures may be issued as the secured debentures or unsecured debentures as well. Now, if secured debentures are issued, then a charge has to be created against the assets of the company, so that the debentures are basically, the nature of secured is in place for the investors, and if unsecured, then no charge has to be created in the assets of the company. As
Yeah, I think ET has correctly mentioned, and just to put perspective over here, these are in usual investment circuit. These are compulsory convertible. They do not issue usually option convertible. They do not issue plain vanilla debentures. They make sure that the compulsory it has to be converted. In our experience of working with various international VCs, they prefer this. And again, venture capital and larger venture capital, not the traditional venture cap or a micro VC. They tend to prefer a CCP simply because it's at the end of the day, though the nature is hybrid, but it's treated as a sort of a loan, right, which has to be treated repaid at a particular point of time in case the agreement says so. So you must understand that compulsorily it has to be converted into a sort of equity, right? Now coming to the next slide, if we see, so there are other ways of investment, especially in terms of loans from banks, loans from related party, or issue advisory shares. So these are for the working capital related to first two. Usually in case of crunch of money, this the first two of that is loan of from banks, loans from directors are been provided. Loans from banks are usually given in case the global visa financial institution altogether. So ECB regulation triggers the issue of advisory shares, on the other hand, is simply on the fact that in case of advisory equity is given to a foreign resident, there should be a sort of regulation in place. Indian ESOP regulation doesn't allow giving shares to a non-employee. So advisory shares is a sort of a mix and match sort of a thing. You cannot have, for that matter, any vesting schedule over your for advisory shares. However, you can have agreement which can garner the entire facet of things, right? So these are the entire structure that has to be kept in mind. Now, there are compliances triggering in for each and every sort of investment. So, for shares, debentures, there is something there. For convertible note, there is something, and there are two or three aspects which we have to consider. One is complex, one is corporate law, and one is the RBI regulation. So, if you can guide us on this.
So, for issuance of shares or debentures, primarily they have a bit of similarity, kind of compliances as per the Companies Act. Now, the primarily we have to agree, or we have to come into the terms of what the shares and how the shares are going to be priced, or what will be the terms and what will be the conditions of the shares or debentures. So these are decided by the company and the investors via agreement. The company they will execute a share subscription or a debenture subscription agreement. Then comes the compliance for preparation of valuation report. It should be prepared by a registered valuer, or a company, or or a chartered accountant as well, which will determine on how the pricing of these shares have, or shares or debentures the company has arrived at. Now, for issuing shares, we should check if the company has the required authorized share capital to issue the share. If not, then we will have to increase the authorized share capital, so that there is ease of so that the company can issue further shares in the company. This is not required in case of debentures. Now, coming to the next point, for compliance aspect, we have to hold a board meeting and then call for EGM. We have to post this, an EGM is basically called, for which in terms of which resolutions, different types of resolutions, in which the company's agreement is approved, in which the company, or the board members and the shareholders, they give the permission, authority to the company to move forward with the shares issuance. And once the EGM is held, we have to report it to the registrar of companies, and with filing form MGT 14. Now, once this part is being taken up, we have to issue the offer letter in terms of shares and debentures both, where all the terms containing the shares and the debentures, the pricing, when the offer is going to open, when the offer is going to close, what is the window of the offer by when they have to the shareholders, the investors, they have to agree to the terms, or they have to agree, they have to make an agreement on the terms and conditions. So the company produces an offer letter, in which such details are mentioned. Uh, Once the offer letter has been sent, which is agreeable to the investors, the investors then accordingly proceed to put in the share subscription or debenture subscription money into the company's bank account. And once the company has received the money, it has to pass a board resolution and then allot the shares or debentures to the debenture shareholders. Now there is a catch here. So if a company has received the fund, it has to make the allotment of shares or debentures within 60 days of its receipt of the funds. Once the board resolution for allotment has been passed, we have to file pass 3 with ROC, evidencing that the company has issued the shares to these investors. Now, moving forward, we have to issue share certificates and debenture certificates as well, and pay related stamp duty for issuance of such shares.
Right, EP. I think he has put some various interesting points, and I think in the next slide also it will be covered. Two or three major things that you have to understand, viewers, is that in case of any sort of investment, the major thing that you must do, and it's a compulsory doable both for corporate governance and both for your own sort of rights and liabilities perspective, is to have a proper agreement in view. In case of anything that you do, any sort of investment that you take, either from domestic or global investors, you must have a proper agreement draft, because at the end of the day, the entire rights and liabilities of the company, of the founders, are governed as per the agreement. So your agreement should be proper and holistic in nature. Point one. Point two is that there are several precondition and post-condition of invest of taking fund and using the fund. So as EP said, that you cannot use the money post investment, right? You cannot use the money until you file the form. You cannot taking the money without filing the forms. There were circumstances where you will see you cannot you file one form, you forget to file the other form. That is also non-governance and non-compliance perspective, and harsh penalty are issued, right? And so you must understand that you have a proper compliance mechanism, because over here, when you take in funding from global investors, RBI regulation comes in, and RBI is very strict with their regulation. They have found cases where companies and entrepreneurs fail to do their compliance at that particular they face a lot of complexities in this regard. So you must be very careful in on this line, and proper compliance mechanism has to be followed on this, right? So in case of convertible note, I think it can guide in terms of what exactly are the things that has to be done.
So basically, once the investor and the company has decided upon the terms of the convertible note, the company, there is not much of a compliance in terms of convertible notes. It's just an agreement from the board and the members for this convertible notes. And one important aspect is to check the articles of the company if any or kind of alteration is required for issuance of convertible note, or any kind of terms that has been agreed between the investor and the company, which is barred or which is not inclusive in the article. In that case, we have to make an alteration in the articles. Rest, we have to just convene a board meeting, or and then convene an EGM to get the convertible note approved. Once EGM is held, we can file e-form FGT 14 with ROC within 30 days of holding EGM. Post this, we have to just issue the convertible note instrument to the shareholders, to the note holders. Moving forward, we will now discuss an important aspect, since for receiving investment by the company from foreign investors or global investors. Now, RBI compliance is really heavy, and it is really important for the company to make RBI compliances in case it has received foreign investors, or even in case it has make a transfer of its shares to any foreign investors. So any sort of dealing with foreign investment, RBI has to be made aware that the company has done this, or company has made these kinds of investment or transactions. Now, the aspect for the RBI compliance is that the company should file Form FCGPR to the RBI within 30 days from date of issue of securities, be it equity shares, be it CCPS, be it debenture. The form is Form FCGPR. So it has to be there. Basically, RBI reporting, it comes in two different registration stages. First, the company has to register it through new creation of new entity user in its RBI firm portal. Now, what basically is this new entity user is that the RBI registers the company in its portal, that this is the company. The company is given, RBI takes all the details of the company. RBI even takes what kind of investments have been made in the company, what kind of securities that the company has issued, if it has issued to any foreign institutional investors, or if the company has issued shares to the normal to the individual investors. RBI take a wholesome details of the company's equity capital, and then it approves the entity user creation. Once the RBI approves entity user, it is only then the company can switch to the next part of registration process, which is registration of business. Now, business user, it is not like
I think you are breaking up several times.
that the company only has to register itself.
I think you are breaking up several times. So let me just go it through. So basically, what it is saying is that while we file FCGPR return, you have to be careful in terms of what are the forms that you file. So once a registration is done, you have to create a new entity user, then a business user. Then you have to take FIIC, KYC from the banks. Then you have to file FCGPR, and that too within a particular time period. You must understand that these things should be taken critically, because until you say that, then there are compliance issues that trigger them, right? So you must think in a way where the compliance issue doesn't have any sort of a unfavorable impact on the company, right? So next slide, please.
Yeah. So the documentation aspect of RBI filings for foreign investments. So several key documents have to be acquired before we can, file Form FCGPR in the company. In the RBI portal. Two most important document is acquiring FIRC and KYC from the company's AD bank. These documents come from bank only, and the bank can issue FIRC KYC only when it has received the funds. So it can only once it has only received the funds, only then the RBI can the company can make FIRC or KYC. RBI can issue FIRC or KYC to the company. The next important document that should be undertaken is a company secretary certificate, where the company certifies that the company has been that it has the Companies Act has been complied while issuing the share certificate. The valuation report is really important, and we cannot upload form, or we cannot make a successful submission without valuation report. There is a specific section where the RBI forms portal asks for valuation report, it asks for company secretary certificate, it asks for FIRC KYC. RBI even asks for board resolution, which the company has passed in terms of allotment of shares. It asks for LOA as well, and then it might ask for the shareholding structure, shareholding pre and post pattern of the shareholding structure as well. These might come in the resubmission requirement as well. Now, if the company, if RBI feels that there is
So ET has pointed out there are several sort of compliance mechanism in terms of FIRC, KYC, pre and post. One of the key aspects that has to be taken into you cannot file for the correct sort of compliance mechanism. So even if one is missed, RBI has potential to reject it. One. Second is that in the RBI portal also, what has happened is that uh, in case you are taking money from neighboring countries, right? As per the 2020 and 2021 regulation, you have to inform to the RBI and take an approval uh, from the RBI in regards to their sort of mechanism when you taking money from investors who reside in a neighboring country of India. So these aspects have to be taken very carefully, analyzed very carefully, and then their money is should be taken. So many a times, what happens is that we have found investors putting in the money without being the compliant. The founders in the desperate need of funds taking their money from the friends and families without doing proper compliance, and the net gain is zero, because at the end of the day, whatever you find you're taking in the money, there are chances that either you have to return the money, or B, you have to pay a heavy penalty on that money. So you have to have a sort of a balanced approach on this, right? So these are the things that has to be considered. Now, I think EP has to be very, comprehensive in terms of each and every aspect of this thing. So agreements are important, compliances are important. There are several instruments, equity, CCPS, CCTs, convertible note, advisory coming into the picture. One has to have a composite approach while taking it forward, right? And this has to be very carefully planned. Otherwise, there are both short-term and long-term compliance issues altogether. So we have been helping several companies in this regard. We have both seed to unicorn level startups, where we plan their post-order structuring issues, where we help them in their structure formation and everything. We help them in their compliances, their taxation, their regulatory issues. In case you have any query or you want to raise funds from corporate investors, but you are not sure how to plan that, feel free to reach out to us, and we shall be happy to have a customized sort of a solution in your perspective, right? So let us know. You can reach out to us at info@taxmantra.com, or WhatsApp us, or call free on a toll free number, call us on toll free number, and you can reach out to us, and we will be more than happy to guide you in this regard. Our videos are sort of informative FAQs comes in daily in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also follow us over there. and reach out to us in case of any need, and we shall be happy to resolve them. Right. So thank you so much, guys. It was a very good session where we tried to cover most of the important aspects of global fundraise by Indian entrepreneurs. And we shall be taking such interesting topics from time to time. If you want us to cover any other topic, let us know, and we will try to take it from there on. Right? Thank you so much, Kiki, for helping
Thank you.
us with this sort of a presentation. We shall definitely connect in the days to come. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone.